House of Representatives Committee on Treaties, Protocols, and Agreements has an important role in reviewing and drawing the attention of federal government to content issues relating to due process, compliance with extant laws, transparency, accountability, local content provisions, procurement process, drawdown/disbursement schedules, management/commitment fees, issues and repayment mechanism of these loans, and commercial contracts agreements in line with our constitutional mandate. The National Assembly, through this committee, will work to ensure that proper due diligence is taken by various MDAs before, during, and after negotiations through signing of all bilateral loans and contractual agreements. We believe that both the government and Nigerians appreciate the fact that bilateral loans agreements are not just about infrastructural development, but also a matter of national interest and national security, because the future of our children and unborn children are involved. As such, the effort of this committee to review the status of these agreements to ensure that it is done with the best interests of the Nigerian people in focus, monitor the progress of its operation, management, and administration by the relevant agencies of government, in line with the terms of the agreements, and recommend a more transparent and open process in accordance with our enabling laws and international best practices, should be seen by all stakeholders in Nigerian projects as a welcome development. Based on public statements and reporting alone, especially since our last meeting here, we have had and seen comments and analysis of major television networks and national dailies by key actors, which have not accurately conveyed the severity of the issues and what the current structure of the loan/contract agreements may portend for our nations if not properly planned and managed well. We have had some people ask why we are focusing on only Chinese-related loans and commercial contracts. We would like Nigerians to know that we aren't focusing on only Chinese loans. From what we know, Nigeria has over 500 bilateral loans and commercial contracts agreements and investment treaties with different countries and institutions. There is no way the committee will do a thorough job without segmenting the issues based on countries, institutions, or MDAs. Thus, it must be clearly noted that this is not targeted at only China, neither was it designed to impede the development of the railway sector and other infrastructures, but rather to ensure full disclosure, transparency, accountability, utmost good faith, and value for money in both the bilateral loans and commercial contracts agreements entered into by the Nigerian government. The loan agreement we have seen so far shows that government officials charged with the responsibility of representing Nigeria in these issues were more desperate to just take the loan at any condition, possibly using non-negotiated loan agreement template rather than go through the rigors of diligent technical review of negotiating specific clauses with clarity and for the national interest. For instance, it is a common practice that most international loan agreements will adopt sovereign guarantee and a neutral international arbitration center, as opposed to waiving of our national sovereignty in an omnibus manner, especially in dealing with countries like China, known to possess an absolute state status on their institutions and corporations. Even in situations where countries, out of desperations and weak economic position, waive their national sovereignty in bilateral or commercial or contractual agreements, the immunity of sovereign waiver clause will usually be clear and categorically state specific asset associated with the loan or takeover in event of default. However, the immunity clause in most of these agreements before us are not only ambiguous, but very obscure. And without recourse to the fact that Nigerian government had issued circular on the subject matter with reference number SGF/OP/X3/X/1739, dated 11th August 2014, which is an executive order, that provided guidelines on issues of waiver of sovereign immunity clause during loan and commercial agreement negotiation. We expected government officials negotiating and signing these loans to fully comply with these guidelines and also ensure that clauses are couched to clearly reflect same. Arbitration centers for bilateral loans agreements are known to be generally on neutral grounds, unlike what we have in most of the Nigerian-China agreements, where Hong Kong, that is also governed by China law, was designated as an arbitration center. For the avoidance of doubt, Nigeria, it should be noted that Nigeria is a signatory to many international conventions, including the International Convention on the Settlement of Investment Dispute between States and Nationals of Other States 2006. Nigeria signed that particular convention. And the Convention on the Recognition and Enforcement of Foreign Arbitral Awards, New York, 1958, amongst many other conventions. We should therefore be concerned when government officials tell us that awards by an international court of arbitration cannot be enforced in Nigeria. It can be enforced by these conventions. Also, as party to the United Nations Convention on Jurisdictional Immunity of States and Their Property 2004, which Nigeria is also a signatory, every Nigerian should be deeply worried by the omnibus nature of sovereignty waiver clause contained in most of these loan agreements, including the status, management, and operation of this project, for which we are borrowing heavily from. We have also noted comments on the facts that National Assembly approved these loans. So why turn around to prove it now? Well, I remember stating in our last meeting here that executive scrutiny and oversight by the legislature on government policies, programs, and projects can be done at the beginning, during implementation, and at the end of implementation. That's why we are the watchdog to other arms of government. From our experience, the MDA signed these commercial agreements in billions of dollars, then go to the President and Federal Executive Council for approval to execute, including securing loan facility through Ministry of Finance and Debt Management Office, and then proceed to negotiate terms of this loan before coming back to Mr. President, who then write to the National Assembly asking for approval for billions of dollars to do projects without attaching negotiated loans and commercial contracts agreement details. That's why we're on this job. This has been the practice by successive governments, not only APC government, so that people don't look at it as a party issue. The National Assembly have assumed the authority to deal with the issues now and for all. That's why we're on this mission. So we cannot be blamed to the APC government alone. And that's why I say, my colleagues, these are not an PDP, APC issue. It's the issues of Nigeria that we must deal with, so that the general public should know that. This approach is the reason we have a government representative signing empty pages of loans agreement repayment schedule and other key documents required for the loans agreement to become effective. We have commercial contracts signed in US dollar, while the loan agreement for the execution of the same contracts were signed in Chinese yuan currency in the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy Galaxy Backbone Limited. We have also seen reference made in the commercial contract regarding BOQs, but none of the commercial contracts agreements submitted to us, especially by Ministry of Transportation, has a single BOQ attachment. We have noticed from documents available to us that commercial contract prices signed by Federal Ministry of Transportation alone, within this is over $33 billion US. without any clear-cut financing arrangements. Most of these commercial contracts agreements didn't also have local content clauses and were witnessed by non-properly designated and authorized officials who have checked the documents, where even a deputy director signed when there's a director of that office, where also other officials sign without designations. I've also seen those. The documents are here. There are also observable issues relating to procurement process, evidence of 15% advance payments, payment of management fees, drawdown process, and remittance, and a whole lot of other matters, which we are strongly poised to ask questions on and hopes to get honest answers that will fine-tune the current process. Plans for possible renegotiations of some of these agreements in order to serve Nigerians better. We also witnessed where a senior person from ministries of foreign affairs in Chinese government makes some comment that those clauses doesn't matter. So that calls for renegotiations.
Before me, this letter dated 14th August 2020, as well as the attachments thereon, are authentic and submitted by the Debt Management Office in response to the inquiries from this committee. Thank you.
So can you tell us why you limited your submission to only 2 documents?
Okay.
Vis-a-vis the first one I gave to you.
Yes. Honorable Chairman, honorable members, if we read paragraph 2 of the cover letter, so a number of the questions that were asked here.
Can you give me the documents? You sign all these letters if you have admitted as authentic. Please, can you give it to us? Sign them, each of the pages, and put your name there and date it.
There's a cover letter.
Date those letters.
There's a cover letter that's not here.
Yeah, I want you to sign it first. Sign it, date it.
So this,
let me have that.
On Galaxy laptop. Yeah. Okay. So the letter the DMO received from the committee had 14 requirements in the attached schedule. So what we did in Appendix 1, attached to the letter, to our letter dated 14th August, was to list these 14 items and put the DMO's comments there. So the ones that we have, we put them there. So technically we have responded to all, including the ones that we don't do, like asking about whether we do job completion, whether we sign off on job completion certificates. So the first item there, so what I'm saying, the letter is a cover letter. This schedule, Appendix 1, is what responds to each of this here in details. So the first question we have here is details of agreed repayment schedules. And we say, please see repayment schedules in Appendix 3. And for each of the loans in Appendix 3, there's a separate sheet for each loan repayment for the full 20 years of the loans. Okay, so that's Appendix 3, and we provided it there as a guide. It said details of drawdown schedule used on each of the facilities. So we said, please contact the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, and they're here, they will respond to that. Record of all actual drawdown till date. That is provided in Appendix 2. So we can see in Appendix 2, each of the loans from China, each of the loans, it says what the currency is, the loan amount, agreement date. It tells you how much has been disbursed. All the charges as well in Appendix 2 is listed. So we know what has been disbursed.
Okay, in your Appendix 2,
yes, sir.
Which you provided a spreadsheet
yes.
of the status of 14 loans agreements as against the listed bilateral agreements with China. We have also noted in your submission that you omitted status information on what? A, supply of communication satellite. NICOMSAT. 1. B. Supply of communication satellite NICOMSAT 1 to R. And C. Contract for the supply, clearing and installation, testing, and commissioning of National Rural Telephone Project Phase 1 and 2 between Federal Government of Nigeria represented by the Ministry of Communication and Hawaii Technology in China. Have you anything to say?
These are all the documents we have in our record.
I just raised an issue.
Yes.
You should respond.
That's what I'm trying to do, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. As far as we know in our records, these are everything.
You omitted that because we have also details of the NICOMSAT.
Maybe.
We have those details. Why did you omit that?
I'm not aware that we omitted any.
I'm just telling you now. So show me.
Well, we'll try and check. We'll see what you have and compare with our records, sir.
It's okay. In your Appendix 2 of your submission, we also noted that Nigeria will continue to repay an accumulated debt portfolio of over $8 billion based on principal amount and interest payable from now till at least in the 19 years based on the maturity of this loan. In your Appendix 2.
Okay, so.
Now, there are most of the schedules in the
Appendix 3.
In the contractual agreements, were also not attached. They were omitted.
So what we have at the DMO keeps are the loan agreements. That's what.
Plant project, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, to the tune of $326.6 million are yet to receive disbursed 4 years after signing the loan agreement.
I think for some of the questions you asked us, if I may, Honorable Chairman, you did ask us about disbursement, actual drawdown till date and drawdown schedule used on each loan. We did include in our response that the Ministry of Finance will provide that. So the DMO can't respond to that question now.
So you are telling us that the Ministry of Finance is only legitimate?
For disbursements, there's a process for the multilateral and bilateral loans, which are very clear.
And you that manages them do not have such copies?
These are based on milestones, sir.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
You see, you that have that, you that manages the debt issues of Nigeria do not have those copies? Are you telling us you're just managing debts without having those copies? To have detail of what you're managing?
What is in the loan agreement,
Is
sir.
that what you're telling us?
We'll have what is in the loan agreement, sir.
So please, provide these issues. The loan agreement on Nigerian supply of rolling stock to the tune of $157 million are also yet to receive first disbursement 2 years after the execution of this loan agreement. Can you explain why?
Sir, the DMO does not manage the projects in terms of who implements, when it is ready for implementation. So I believe that is why we have.
So Minister of Finance.
That's why we have the ministry, various implementing agencies here.
It's okay. Minister of Finance. Can you respond? Addendum 2B, Section 16, 1, page 13 under the loan content obligation of the contractor. Article 16.1 stated, the contractor shall develop and submit to the employer Ministry of Transport for its approval a local content plan for the training and engagement of Nigerian labor force in all aspects of the contractor works on the project. It contains in that agreement. Can you provide this honorable committee with satisfied copies of labor plan, training programs carried out, and beneficiaries, and evidence of number of Nigerians working in all aspects of this project vis-a-vis their Chinese counterpart as provided in that agreement document?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
No, sir, I have a right to speak.
Please, I'm
It is
giving
right
him
because you invited me.
I'm giving him right to speak.
You have invited me. I was once a member of the House, so I know the right of the guest that you invited me. Now, Mr. Chairman, if you say Minister of Transport has a contract of 33 billion, we want to see it. Because as Minister for Transport, the only contract we've awarded so far is $1.6 billion contract for Lagos Ibadan, which is under threat. The
Can you speak to the questions I asked you now? You see, I told you from the beginning.
I have a choice.
Excuse me, sir. Can I
have two choices.
And
Sir.
I'm coming, just a minute.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm coming, just a minute.
Guidance, please.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Please, just a minute. This is rules which you obey. From day one, I said when we ask questions with time, you answer the question directly. We wouldn't want to go from question.
Mr. Chairman, the implication of having $33 billion. Mr. Chairman, there is no $33 billion contract in Ministry of Transport. What we have in Ministry of Transport is $1.6 billion contract awarded under President Buhari and an $800 million contract awarded by President Goodluck Jonathan. If it is $1.6 billion contract, which is all we know, because by the time we came, the contract awarded by President Goodluck Jonathan, signed by Aganga, had been completed 80%. So we did not have to do anything of local content or no local content. The only one that we have to deal with the issue of local content, which is the only contract that we have for now, is the $1.6 billion contract awarded from Lagos to Ibadan. $1.6 billion, for which Chinese government is providing 1.2, and we are providing the remaining $400 million. Mr. Chairman, there are over 20,000 workers. Only 560 of them are Chinese. 560, and I wish to submit the document.
Can we have the document?
Because we need to begin to say the truth to Nigeria.
Can we have the document?
Mr. Chairman, I beg to submit the document. Don't worry, I'm not the House of Representatives. So, Mr. Chairman, for over 20
Mr. Chairman, sir. Mr. Chairman, sir, guidance.
My friend, I beg. I'm in control of this committee.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Chairman.
will observe you when the need arises.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Please, the minister is speaking, and I will not observe any other members. Please, let the minister finish his speech. I will give you room to talk.
Thank you, Chairman.
So, Mr. Chairman, the contract awarded by this government by this government is $1.2 billion contribution by the Chinese, and the $400 million about that by the federal government of Nigeria. And we have.
Can you speak to this document? Please, you have provided documents. How many Nigerians are in this document?
I say we employed over 10 to 20,000.
Not over. Just give me a
Oh, then you have to allow me go back.
Please, can you give me a exact?
I will give you the exact.
That's why you speak to the document.
I'll give you the exact numbers of.
Please do now.
I will. You asked about training. Mr. Chairman, over 150 Nigerians are in China being trained as
engineers. Can we have documents of Nigerians that you have taken to China, please?
We'll provide that for you.
Can we have the document, please?
Okay, well, they say they didn't ask us, so we'll bring it. If you're asking for it now, we'll bring it for you.
Can you bring that document tomorrow?
We'll give it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Now, apart from that, they have built 2 training institutions. One in Idu, and I would like the chairman to come and visit. We are also building a university in Daura.
Can you also provide a Chinese counterpart that are working in those projects?
Which project?
That project.
I'll give you the total number of the Chinese, sir.
Is that?
I've given you the total number of the Chinese workers.
Is he here?
Yes.
Is among this one?
Yes.
It's okay. Please, can you refer me to it?
Refer to how?
Can you refer me to the aspect of where Chinese people that are working there?
What we did is we provided you with all the names of Chinese workers on that project.
My question separated. How many Nigerians
are what?
That are working in that project?
Which project? Which project now?
So the document you submitted now.
This document provides for you all the Chinese workers on the Lagos Ibadan, which is what is asked for. Lagos Ibadan, these are all the Chinese working on that project.
Okay, what of the Nigerians?
We just told you here now that since you're asking for it now, we'll provide it to you tomorrow.
Okay, you don't have the Nigerians?
Because you didn't ask for it, so tomorrow we'll provide it for you.
It's okay.
And there are over 10,000.
I gave you that document, you didn't reply it.
Which document?
We wrote to you.
I didn't see that.
To provide that to us.
I didn't see that, Mr. Chairman.
Please, clerk, can you give me that document? You wrote to him. Please.
So, Mr. Chairman.
I'm coming. Take it step by step. Letter to the minister, please.
Oh, Nigerian
clear now. Yes. When I say evidence of the Chinese, what am I saying? What do you now need after that one? The letter is clear, just as I didn't want to hold you. Listen, Mr. Minister. I respect you a lot. I didn't want to hold you. I just want to pick you up on particular document you submitted to us. We needed further clarification. We wouldn't have been arguing all these ones if you have provided those clarifications. So we expect that by tomorrow you get the extra document. Now, for taking you on this, are you aware, Mr. Honorable Minister, of the $11.1 billion on Nigerian Coastal Railway project that was signed on 1st of July 2016?
Has the loan been approved?
I'm asking you, are you aware?
I'm aware, but has...
Tell yourself the one or two key issues.
Okay,
So
Mr. Chairman.
I just want to intimate
Mr. Chairman,
yeah, I'm coming. Can you allow me, please? You see, it's a friendly discussion.
If you are friendly, you won't put her on oath.
I didn't put you on oath.
If not me, if you are friendly, you won't put her on oath.
Please, can you put the Honorable Minister on oath? Please. Please.
That.
Further covenant that it shall give priority to the engagement of Nigerian commercial firms and companies for the supply of goods and materials and all other works. Can you provide us with evidence and records of Nigerian commercial firms and companies currently being engaged and providing services of this project?
It's important, I tell you, sir, that that contract was, because of the committee you've set up against the China loan, South-South, that contract is from Lagos to Calabar, which is the whole of the South-South. Mr. Chairman, we may not get that loan, so there's no contract.
I am talking about the same contract you told me of this particular...
Which of them? The 2016 contract you talked about?
Yes.
Which of them? If you're talking about the South-South, you just asked me. You want to meet the South-South contract?
Virtually all the contracts.
Do you want to meet the South-South contract? If you want to meet, say you want to meet it, let's go to the other one.
Can you listen to me? Follow me. We're not quarreling.
Because you're from South.
If we continue to serve our geopolitical zone, this country will not be nice. If Zone A gets their fair share, and next year...
Have you not approached me on South-South? Have you not approached me on South-South Rail? Have you not approached me on South-South Rail?
I have not.
You have?
I have not.
Mr. Chairman, you have approached me.
It's okay. It's okay, it's okay.
Rail? You have approached me.
It's okay. Temper. We'll take it small. The issue we are talking today is the issue that concerns Nigeria. And it will promote the economic activities of Nigeria and bring about a multiplier effect. That's my concern, and that's my philosophy, irrespective of any era you push, any rate. I'm a Nigerian, and I believe in Nigerian spirit. Now, my question is to all the projects that you're handling. The contract further covenant that it shall give priority to engagement of Nigerian commercial firms and companies for the supply of goods and materials and all other works. Can you diligently provide us with evidence and records of Nigerian commercial firms and companies currently being engaged and providing services on these projects?
Which of the contracts?
The one.
You read one on Coastal
Any
Rail.
of the one I've listed, even including your Lagos one.
Okay, so let's start with Coastal Rail. There is no contract on Coastal Rail.
It's okay.
What I mean by there is no contract is until you get the loan, there is no contract.
It's okay.
And the implication is that we may not get the loan, so there will be no contract.
It's okay.
Okay. The Lagos Ibadan.
Yeah.
I'm not the contractor. He will supply us at the end of the contract.
Did you sign this agreement on this commercial contract with your ministry signed with the contractor?
First is that the contract was in existence under Obasanjo. All we did is sign the contract that was given under Obasanjo's regime. But that's not the issue. If you want the documents of the sublet contract, we will give it to you tomorrow, sir.
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
The committee agree on that. Those documents will be provided because it's not available now. That is good. Now, in undertaking its obligations under this article. The contractor shall, it's a command, at all times be subject to lawful directions of a general or specific nature by the supervising ministers, and the contractor shall be under obligation to comply with such directions. That's what you will sign. Honorable Minister, my legislative maestro, because I know you are an authority in the legislative arena. Can you please tell us example of some of the lawful directions you have given and your experience in complying and enforcing the above provisions of this agreement? Have you encountered any conflict of interest? What will be the consequences if the contractor fails to comply with your lawful directions?
Unfortunately, I've given no one, and I try within my responsibility terms of the contract.
It's okay. The Nigerians have heard that he has given no directions. I can listen to you now.
Loans, be it external or local, are booked by the DMO office.
When you raise a point of observation,
Let me learn, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Sometimes I can rule you off because I want you to go to the direction.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm only trying to guide you.
You can't guide me.
Mr. Chairman, with due respect, you do respect. Mr. Chairman, with due respect, I'm a senior in this parliament and I can guide you.
Honorable member, Honorable member, you are co-opted into this committee. You are co-opted into this committee.
Okay, thank you, my chairman.
I'm coming.
You have your way.
Please, I'm in charge of this committee.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, please.
I withdraw my question.
Thank you very much. At all times, and for the avoidance of doubt, the contractor shall comply with Nigerian federal or state laws, the Executive Order 003 of 2017 titled Executive Order on Support of Local Content in Public Procurement by the federal government, May 18, 2017, regulations and policies in relation to the promotion and enforcement of local content provisions in the execution of projects, whether specifically mentioned in this agreement or otherwise. Can you provide us with details of how the contractors have materially complied with these provisions?
I hope you're not repeating yourself. And let me tell why some names of those they have sublet contract to. That's local content. Unless you want to be the general contractor, in which case it's no longer local content.
I don't think that's
Can you repeat your question? Can you repeat your question?
That shouldn't be your response at all.
Can you repeat your question? You said I should provide you with documents to show local content. You have earlier asked me to provide you with workers who are Nigerians, and I said tomorrow morning.
Is that the only local content?
Can you hold on, sir? When you said I should provide you with that, I said tomorrow. You asked me to provide you with the contractors who are Nigerians who are doing contracts there. I said tomorrow I will ask the company to provide you with that. So the third question you're repeating is that you're repeating those two questions, sir.
With these provisions. Now, there are provisions in the contract agreement. If you are taking local content, has those contractors complied with it? It's a question of supervision on those critical areas. We also want to know the quality of what that project being executed in line with the specification.
Maybe the House needs to have Ministry of Transport. We are convinced about the quality. Nigerians are using the rail going to Kaduna from Abuja. Very soon, in September, we'll begin to use the one from Lagos to Ibadan. If the committee is in doubt of the quality of work, we'll be glad if you appoint a supervising engineering company that can come and find out that it's part of oversight function, Mr. Chairman.
It's okay for shielding the responsibility of the executive to the legislators. We'll see to it, lines with the specifications that are provided. We'll do that. We'll make that recommendation. Your question 5. In Addendum 2A, page 3 and 4 on the Lagos-Ibadan segment of the railway modernization project worth over $1.5 billion, signed on 22nd of December 2016. The contract agreement was signed by you and witnessed by one IJ Uche Okoro, who simply identified himself as a civil servant without a designation and addressed as Federal Minister of Transport. Who is this IJ Uche Okoro, and what is his official designation? Rank in the ministry.
Mr. Chairman, as a former member of the paper, is a civil servant. And director of legal is a civil servant. Who is the permanent secretary here? Is that not? So what does he want?
Is the man a director of legal?
She is a director of legal.
She's a director of legal. She didn't sign it as a director of legal.
If she signs as civil servant, has she contravened the law?
Any other person can sign as a civil servant.
Did they tell
must know who is
Mr. Chairman,
designated and
did they tell you the class of person that will sign? They didn't. They didn't say the witness must be a director or the witness must be a governor.
So you will not take a messenger to sign your document?
Well, it's the law. It's the law you pass.
Which law? Can you
The one you pass. So there's no law that says it must be.
Can you provide us with the law?
Is there a law that says it must be?
The ministers, you have gone to sign because a minister representing that ministry.
Mr. Chairman, I could refuse to go, and any other person could have signed on our behalf.
So any other person from your ministry can go and sign without your authority?
I could designate, I could delegate it to anybody to sign.
You can delegate?
Yes, sir.
Because you have a portfolio, so you cannot delegate. Now, who did you delegate this position? For us to be able to attach that document to an officer who signed that document,
okay, Mr. Chairman.
You must define the particular, the designation of such officer.
Mr. Chairman.
In the same addendum 2A, page 1 and 2, we also observe the commercial contract made a lot of reference to another commercial agreement identified as addendum 2, which was said to have been signed on 28 August 2012. Please, Honorable Minister, can you provide us with the detail of the addendum 2 contract agreements from where you made variations? Variations to sign revised contract for addendum 2A.
Mr. Chairman, please, sir, ask the chief assistant to read our booklet. You will see addendum 2.
Mr. Honorable Minister, I took time to go through your documents. I took time. And if that page is not available yet in the document you provided, DGs of parastatals and agencies, other members of the press, we shall resume after 30 minutes break to address most of these issues again. So we'll take a 30-minute break on this matter. Thank you. Under practice. So we'll get that document tomorrow. Number 8, addendum 3 on Kaduna Kano. Section signed on 31st August 2016. See page 1 if you have a copy. With a contract sum of $1.6 billion. No, it's here, Kaduna Kano. Yeah. And also see page 3. Yeah, the agreement was signed like the one you used to sign before with the local content, was signed without a clause on local content obligations of the contractor and was witnessed by one ex-Zachary, ex-Permanent Secretary, who identified his occupation as public servant from the Federal Ministry of Transport. You already defined it that it's a PS, have you?
Yes. The Permanent Secretary, it was the Permanent Secretary until...
it's good when you are signing such documents. proper thing to be done is the designation of the officer should be also be there so that we know the kind of person that are signing those documents.